One question for you.
Yeah?
What are those?
Should we really be hating on Jake Paul? That is the question. I want to talk about why we hate Jake Paul. Why do people always see his face and are like, this guy is someone who I want to just punch?
Welcome to another day of partying. You want some?
No, I'm good.
Right away. And I think I know several reasons why, but I also think some of us are looking at this the wrong way. Maybe Jake Paul's a good thing for social media, for the culture, for just entertainment purposes as well. Let's talk about it. So I think what happens a lot of time is we end up having this like villain, this antagonist that we love to point fingers at. We love to really get it like a microscope and look into their life and really just judge them on everything that they do. I don't even want to talk about Logan Paul. I want to specifically talk about Jake Paul. We had Jake Paul, who was a YouTuber, started out, he blew up during this time where you could post videos about doing really dumb shit and become really popular. And, you know, Jake Paul just started rising and rising, went on to Disney, had a fallout with them, and then went back to YouTube.
Jake grew up in a small town outside of Cleveland, Ohio with his big brother, who you may have also heard of. Both boys excelled in sports and loved to compete with one another. Although they made YouTube videos at a really young age, they didn't find a lot of success until they jumped on Vine.
And then started doing fights. YouTuber fights, and now we are at a point where Jake Paul is fighting against Nate Diaz.
Paul versus Nate Diaz is on. Yes, that is correct. The news just broke this morning.
Which I don't think I would ever like think of that a few years ago. I would never be like Jake Paul would fight Nate Diaz, but we're at that point. There's a reason for it, and that is because everyone loves to hate an antagonist. And Jake Paul currently right now is that antagonist. But to be honest, I kind of like Jake Paul, and I'm going to give you my reasons why I do like him.
What the fuck is this piece of shit?
Number one is I do think the world and just culture does need an antagonist in terms of entertainment. Looking back at WWE and we look at antagonists throughout just wrestling matches in general, they always bring a story to what we're watching. They bring entertainment. We don't like when a protagonist loses. We don't like when an antagonist is doing better than the hero. We just don't like it. And if you watch movies, we always typically see the hero win. But when the antagonist wins, it has that fire inside. Like there's just flames like just getting inside of our chest, and we want to just like scream out.
Is capable of throwing some decent combinations and has done it from time to time. Just haven't been.
All were counting for Jake Paul to lose each fight. And the storyline just kept growing. When is Jake Paul going to lose? When is he going to fight a real boxer? And for us, we didn't really care about who he fought. We cared about who and when he lost. And when he did lose, now we're just kind of like, okay, he lost, but maybe we want to see more. That's something that's really interesting, is that we didn't just stop watching, we didn't just stop giving an F about Jake Paul. We're still interested in his story. He's an antagonist that we don't like, and a lot of the time people want to see him fail, but to be honest, we kind of need him. Like if we really look at boxing in general, besides Canelo, Tyson Fury, Frank Garcia, and Tank, quite honestly, Jake Paul is bigger than all of them, in my opinion. There's also a big aspect of not liking someone because they're more successful than you, and they've become more successful in ways that you don't necessarily agree with.
He vlogged himself staying in a White House bathroom until 3:15 in the morning.
Oh my gosh, you're gonna get in trouble. They're gonna like cart you off to jail if they find you.
And the Secret Service would track him down after the stunt.
We saw your video on YouTube there. There was a lot of people all over the government that were very concerned about what appeared that happened on your video.
Look at Jake Paul and what he's done on YouTube and the type of content that he's created. Now he's like a multi-millionaire who's doing way better than the majority of us. It's really easy to point fingers and get upset and be like, I don't like him at all. He's bad for society. He's bad for kids to listen to. But if you really think about it, in a way, he was completely self-made. Everything that he has done, he's done himself or with the help of, his family, his brother. But this kid is self-made, and I think if anything, we should be looking at that and saying, why can't we eventually become like that too? I remember watching him years ago, and not really like consistently, but I would watch his channel and I'm just like, this guy is doing the dumbest shit and he's getting all these views and I don't like him. And I never really understood why I didn't like him. I just didn't like him. I didn't think that he was real. I thought everything was fake. It was all clickbait. He was trying to do everything for the views, but like, can you really blame him, to be honest? Like, what if you're trying to grow? What if you're trying to become a better YouTuber? We're all trying to make it in this world and trying to become successful. Would you do the things that he has done to get to that point? I think that's an actual question that we should be asking ourselves. And a lot of you probably in the comments are going to be like, Jake Paul is like the worst person ever. How could you support him? Why are you even making a video about Jake Paul? But I think, like, quite honestly, I think a lot of us can aspire to at least become as successful as him. And I think just like other characters that we've seen, people in WWE, people in TV shows, movies, is that, you know, when we see them in the limelight, when we see them on camera, they're very different than how they are when they're behind. And I think one thing that we're not thinking about is with Jake Paul, I do think what we're seeing when he's on camera may not be 100%, but I do think a lot of him is a genuine person. I think he does do a lot of good on camera that we don't actually see.
So when I feel pain in my right ankle, I'm like, Mom.
Yo, but see, like, you see how you still like are like smiling and you have like such a good attitude about it. I'm sure with like a lot of kids and there's a day where like they feel like the whole world is like coming down on them. And like you went through that same thing. Like I've gone through it like multiple times. All you can do is just
stick with it.
Just stick with it.
Everyone's like, oh my gosh, Kaylee, I'm so sorry. I'm like, it's all good.
That's my flippin' girl. Yo, bring it in. Give me a hug.
As much as you want to hate him, as much as you want him to fail, as much as you want Jake Paul to just be erased from society, guys, at the end of the day, we're all trying to make it in this world. We're all trying to become successful. At least that's what a lot of people try to aspire to be. And I just think Jake Paul is another one of those human beings that is trying to become successful in this life. And whether you like him or not, he's doing a really good job of it. And you guys are almost helping him when you say you hate him, because it brings his name. It helps him become more famous, become more rich, all of that. So again, personally, I do think Jake Paul is good for the culture. I do think Jake Paul has a place, and I think it brings a story, it brings entertainment, and I think he is someone that, you know, is creating a lot of really interesting content for all of us to watch. Thank you guys so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out. Bye.